Thank you. Oh, nice bonus. Good afternoon. We'll call this meeting of the Allegheny County Board of Legislators to order for December 11, 2024. Please rise as we're led in Pledge of Allegiance by retired Army Command Sergeant Major Robert Ward. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain upstanding as we're led in invocation by Legislator Philip G. Stocking.
As we pause this afternoon before getting into the things before us, we thank you, Lord, for many blessings and provisions. We have a lot of good folks that work here in the county and serve our people, from the young to the elderly. And being here in this room, we're privileged to know many of those things, and we're grateful for all that they do, time they spend, and the care that they give to these different groups. We thank you as we've been thinking today of the things that have been accomplished in this year and the many things that we've been working on that we're seeing come to completion. We're grateful for that. You know, we're fully aware of the challenges yet before us as we move on into the weeks ahead. So we continue to seek your guidance in all of these. Thank you again for all those who serve in EMS and fire and law enforcement, military, that together provide safety and freedoms that we take for granted so often. But we're grateful and we appreciate it and we thank you. And I offer this prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Bill. Roll call, please.
Mr. Barnes. Mrs. Burdick. Here. Mr. Curran.
Here.
Mr. Sear. Mr. Demick.
Here.
Mr. Fanton.
Here.
Mrs. Hanchett. Here. Mr. Harris.
Here.
Mr. Havey.
Here.
Mr. Healy.
Here.
Mr. Rickey.
Here.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales.
Here.
Mrs. Root.
Here.
Mr. Rumfelt. Mr. Stockin.
Here.
13 present, 2 absent.
Thank you.
You are provided a copy of the board meeting minutes of November 27th. At this time, we need a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion made by Legislator Hanchett, seconded by Legislator Ricketts Swales. Any addition or corrections to those minutes? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Those minutes are approved. This time we'll suspend our meeting and open a public hearing for a local law establishing the Office of Emergency Management for Allegheny County and repealing local law number 1 of 1980. Are there any members of the public that wish to address the board at this time regarding this local law? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and resume our regular meeting. At this time, I'd like to ask retired Sergeant Master Bobby Ward to join me up at the front, please. We do apologize that your rank was written incorrectly on the agenda. I think it said, what did it say, Mike?
So it's Command Sergeant Major.
Command Sergeant Major. And what did the agenda say? Master Sergeant Major. We apologize. We'd like to thank Bobby for joining us here today. Bobby was a Angelica Central School graduate in 1989, pre-merger. Not a lot of people can say that anymore. And a graduate of Excelsior College in 2013. He enlisted in January 1990 in the U.S. Army, served his basic training at Fort Benning, Georgia, 1990. Is that correct? Yeah. Over the course of a long career with the Army, he served at Fort Benning, Fort Bragg, North Carolina in the early 90s, in Panama from 1991 to 1994, Fort Bragg in 94 to 95, served in Rochester's recruiting office in the late 90s, early 2000s, Korea, Alaska, back to Fort Leavenworth in 2012 to 2015, Fort Bliss, and the Joint Base Lewis McChord, 2016 to 2020. He served under the Desert Shield and Desert Storm designations, as well as the Global War on Terror in Iraq, and in Iraq from 1990 to 1991, 2005 to 6, 2008 to 9, and in Afghanistan from 2011 to 2012. Really, actually incredible list of commendations and awards that he received over the course of his career, including 3 Bronze Stars medals, Legion of Merit, 2 Meritorious Service medals, 4 Army Commendation medals, 4 Army Achievement medals, Combat Infantryman's Badge with Star, Expert Infantryman's Badge, Airborne Air Assault as well. He said this is about half, I think, of the awards and commendations that he received over the course of his career. But there's only so many lines on the sheet, and so he did his best. But really an incredible career, and one that we are all thankful for and appreciative of, especially a homegrown Allegheny County kid doing so much for his country. He's currently safety manager, apparently much to Jenna's dismay, being able to go to Thailand with some frequency, doing explosive safety work with the 7th Infantry Division. That's not classified, right?
No,
Yeah.
it's all open source.
Okay, good. He is married to his wife Teresa. He has 3 children, Autumn, Amaris, close enough, and Beckham, and I think, is it Amaris that's in college right now at UNLV? He currently lives out in Washington State. Bobby, on behalf of Allegheny County and this board, we want to thank you for your many years of service, not only to this country, but to Allegheny County in particular. We welcome you back. We hope you enjoy your stay, and we hope you come back and see us many times.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Healy.
I'd just like to add, and for the civilians out there that may not realize it, Command Sergeant Major is the highest enlisted rank in the U.S. Army. And not very many people obtain that rank. So that alone, we should be thanking him for that service alone, besides all his other service across the globe. Thank you.
Thanks. I just wanted to say thank you for today's honor, and I want to thank you for all the veterans, past, present, future, for noticing them that represent our county and our small towns. Thanks.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the county, this is just a certificate. If you don't mind if we get a quick picture of that. Okay. I'm sorry. You can say no. I don't like getting my picture
Jenna
taken.
didn't tell you this part, did she?
No, she didn't. We'll slide this out of the way. Mike, you want to join us? Mike is our county.
Want this away, Brooke?
Yes.
We're done.
We're gonna get Mike.
You said.
Three, two, one. 3, 2, 1.
Thanks. Yes, thanks. Congratulations. Yeah, thanks. Okay, at this time, I would like to call up to the front, please, County Treasurer Terry Ross, Director of Temporary Assistance Kathy Van Etten, and Senior Heavy Equipment Mechanic Brian Blavitt. Do we have all 3? I see 2. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So this is kind of a recognition and a mea culpa. So last year was our great county treasurer, Terry Ross's 40th year of service. And I have no idea. I said, we swear it wasn't on purpose and we weren't mad at her at the time or anything. It really slipped through the cracks. So this is actually a very special occasion because we've never given out a 41-year recognition before. Terry started.
45-year-old.
Right. Terry started her career back in 1983, but even before then, she spent a couple months in the treasurer's office as a temporary employee fulfilling the duties of account clerk typist. Terry began as a permanent employee in Allegheny County in '83 as a deputy county treasurer. She held that title in 2002 when she was elected into the treasurer's position, a title that, as we all know, she still holds today. Congratulations, Terry. Kathy started her career in Allegheny County in 1989 as a social welfare examiner, a title she held until 2011. She worked periodically in a couple other titles for a couple months during this time, case manager, support investigator, but stayed with social welfare examiner until her promotion to senior social welfare examiner in 2011. She went on to hold the title of Senior Case Manager in 2015 and Principal Social Welfare Examiner in 2016. She remained in this title until her current appointment as Director of Temporary Assistance, which occurred in 2021. This is a 35-year recognition, which is incredible. Thank you very much, Kathy. I am going to read, for the record, Brian's details as well. Brian started his career with Allegheny County in '89 as a temporary laborer, which worked into a permanent position for him as an automotive mechanic. He held this title until his promotion to Heavy Motor Equipment Operator 2 in 1996. Brian also held the title of Motor Equipment Operator and Motor Equipment Operator 1 between the years of 1997 and 2001 before his appointment as a heavy equipment mechanic in 2001. He held this title until 2013 when he was promoted to Senior Heavy Equipment Mechanic in 2013, the title that he still holds today, and we thank him for his service, and that is also a 35-year recognition.
Well, you know, I really thank the taxpayers of Allegheny County for allowing me to have this job for that long. When I was 23 and walked through the doors, I never would have imagined that 42 years would have flown as fast as they did. It has been a great career. I'm very happy to have had this job. It's been a wonderful time for me. And 41 years, I can't say anything more about it, but I appreciate the privilege that I've had to work for Allegheny County. Thank you. We thank Kathy, too.
Okay, I'm sorry to do this. Before you coworkers leave, I'm sorry to do this to you, but could we get a picture of the recognition folks with their coworkers and family as well? Can we do that, please? They look so mad. And then, Bobby, I know you've got friends and family here too. Do you think we could do just a couple quick pictures if we promise not to send them to the press? Okay. Let's do Kathy. We'll do Kathy, then we'll do Bobby, then we'll do Terry. Jenna will probably be in all three of the pictures. Okay, Bobby, you're up. Okay, Terry and crew, please. Family and coworkers, please. At this time, the board is thankful to be able to provide privilege of the floor to Director of Probation Scott Grantier and Probation Supervisor and Stop DWI Law Enforcement and Community Outreach Liaison Jessica McKnight to speak briefly on Impaired Driving Prevention Month. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to see you.
You too. Hey, Jessica.
Christopher.
Floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Harris, and thank you to everyone on the board for the leadership in Allegheny County and the privilege of the floor today. Nationwide, alcohol remains the leading cause of traffic fatalities. Over 1/3 of deadly car accidents can be directly related to alcohol and/or drug impairment. This renders 1/3 of all deadly car accidents in America preventable and avoidable. During the holiday season, we call upon everyone to save a life, help save a life by planning ahead, calling for a ride, and only driving while sober. We urge everyone to help friends and loved ones do the same every time throughout this year. It's up to all of us to help spread the word, offer to be a designated driver, and call for a ride or ask for help when we need it. At this time, I'd like to introduce Supervisor Jessica McKnight as part of our team on the Stop DWI program. Jessica has done a tremendous job over the last couple of years with our high visibility engagement campaign management, and as well as the mock crash management. The work that she does is stellar as far as putting together many resources, many individuals, putting together just superb mock crashes that have been recognized statewide throughout New York State. I'd also like to introduce Senior Probation Officer Christopher Mulheisen. Christopher is part of the team as far as coordinating and working above and beyond on our Victims Impact Panel, which we provide on a quarterly basis, and that program is going very well. And thank you both for all your work on top of all your other duties in the probation world. Much appreciated. Today, I'd like to recognize and express deep gratitude to many members of our public safety community who have been key partners for our local Stop DWI program. Your crucial role in making our roadways safer for friends and loved ones is respected and appreciated beyond measure. Additionally, a heartfelt thank you to, excuse me, my voice is kind of cracking here. Additionally, a heartfelt thank you for the men and women of law enforcement, emergency dispatch, our emergency service responders, and community volunteers who always respond to the call. Again, this holiday season and around all year round, have a plan to get home safely. wishing you all a very Merry Christmas and all the best in the new year. Thank you very much.
You guys bear with me, I'll read a proclamation. A proclamation. Whereas in 2024, over 11,000 people were killed in alcohol-impaired driving crashes, accounting for nearly one-third of all traffic-related deaths in the United States. And whereas almost 30 Americans are killed each day by alcohol-impaired driving, amounting to one death every 48 minutes. And whereas between 2018 and 2021, nearly 4,000 people were killed in December crashes involving drivers with blood alcohol content over 0.08%. And whereas in 2024, there have been 1,175 traffic-related fatalities in New York State, and 444, or 38%, were alcohol-related fatalities. And whereas in New York State, between the years of 2019 and 2022, nearly 150,000 drivers were arrested for driving under the influence of alcohol or narcotics. And whereas December is recognized as National Impaired Driving Prevention Month, and in 2022, New York State Governor Kathy Hochul proclaimed December as Stop DWI Month. And whereas the Allegheny County Stop DWI program is dedicated to coordinating strong local efforts in partnership with law enforcement, prosecution, and rehabilitation for safer Allegheny County roadways. Now therefore, I, W. Brooke Harris, Chairman of the Allegheny County Board of Legislators, do hereby proclaim the month of December 2024 as Impaired Driving Prevention Month in Allegheny County, and urge citizens of Allegheny County to avoid driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Thank you. One more picture for the road here.
Three, two, one. 3, 2, 1.
All right, mark the day, December 11th, 2024. I can no longer tell the difference between a comma and a period, and I need reading glasses from here on out. All right, this portion of the meeting is dedicated to public comment. Are there any members of the public that wish to address the board at this time today? Seeing none, we will continue on with our agenda. Is there anything on our desks today?
Yes, on your desk is a report of interfund transfers and tax bill corrections approved by the county administrator in November. A reminder that the holiday party for veterans is being held at the Genesee Valley Central School on Saturday, December 14th from 1 to 3 p.m. We received an invitation for legislators to join the Wreaths Across America Belmont Group in honoring our veterans on December 14th as they visit various monuments and memorials and follow with a wreath-laying ceremony. And you should all have a copy of that invitation. A reminder that the next board meeting will be held on Friday, December 20th at 10 a.m. Chairman Harris proclaimed December as Impaired Driving Prevention Month in Allegheny County, and he has already read that proclamation.
Resolutions?
Resolution intro number 46624, adoption of local law establishing the Office of Emergency Management for Allegheny County and repealing local law number 1 of 1980. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Mr. Stocken makes the motion, seconded by Legislator Fanton. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Stocken?
Yes.
Mr. Barn? Oops, I'm sorry. Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
That resolution is approved.
Resolution intro number 46724. Creation of one full-time position of senior paralegal within the Department of Social Services. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services and Personnel Committees and has both committees' approval.
Ms. Burdick makes the motion, seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Seer? Yes. Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
That's approved.
Resolution intro number 46824. Creation of one full-time position of Marketing and Development Specialist for the Office of Economic Development. This resolution is being offered by the Planning and Economic Development Committee and has committee approval.
Motion by legislator Root, seconded by legislator Hanchett. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Seer? Yes. Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett? Yes. Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
That's approved.
Resolution intro number 46924. Appointment of one member to the Citizens Advisory Council to the Office for the Aging. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services Committee and has committee approval.
Ms. Burdick makes the motion, seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? This resolution can be voice voted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried.
Resolution intro number 47024. Delegating authority for certain real property tax refunds and correction of tax bills and tax rolls. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Mr. Stockin makes the motion, seconded by legislator Fanton. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Seer? Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
That's approved.
Resolution intro number 47124. Changing the time of the second regular board meeting in December to December 20th, 2024 at 10 a.m. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Motion by legislator Stockin, seconded by legislator Fanton. Discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Madam.
in the first whereas clause of the resolution, there is a typographical error that I want to note. It says that the meeting will be Friday, December 20th, 2024 at 2 p.m. That should read 10 a.m. We will change it after the board meeting, and we'll consider it a typo.
Thank you. Further discussion?
The resolve section too. And actually, oh
No.
no, sorry, we're correct in the whereas clause. And I'm sorry, it's correct.
Yeah, I think it is correct.
It is correct. I apologize.
You're good.
However you guys want it. We're right behind you. Just tell us when to be here.
10 o'clock.
For 10 o'clock. Further discussion? This can be voice voted. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? That's carried. Would anyone care to make a motion to block resolution intro numbers 472 of 24 and 473 of 24 together? Thank you, Mr. Curran. Seconded by legislator Hanchett. All in favor say aye. Opposed? That's carried.
Resolution intro number 47224, setting the date, time, and place of the 2025 organization meeting. Resolution intro number 47324, suspending certain county board rules affecting proposed resolutions requested to be submitted at the organization meeting on January 2nd, 2025.
Does anyone care to make a motion to approve those blocked resolutions? Mr. Curran makes the motion, second by legislator Stockin. Discussion? Just for clarification, what is the time for the reorg?
10 a.m.,
Okay, and that's how it's indicated in the resolution?
I believe so.
Okay. Yes, okay. All right, further discussion? Okay. If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Those resolutions are approved.
Resolution intro number 47424. Amendment of 2025 County Tentative Budget. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Mr. Stockin makes the motion, seconded by legislator Fanton. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Seer?
No.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
12 ayes, 1 no, 2 absent.
That resolution is approved.
Resolution intro number 47524, adoption of 2025 county final budget. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Motion by legislator Stockin, seconded by legislator Fanton. Discussion? I would like to address a question we had from a member of the public last night, or I'm actually not going to address it. I'm going to ask our county treasurer to address a question about how and to what extent this budget addresses the needs of the fire and EMS community. I think there's been some misinformation out there that in some way our emergency management budget has been cut, and that this budget in no way supposedly supports our volunteer fire and EMS communities. Could you address that, please, Treasurer Ross?
Absolutely. Thanks, Chairman. The 2025 budget includes a line item in the emergency services section of the budget for $200,000 to provide class materials for both paramedics and EMTs, for volunteers to be able to come to those classes at no cost to them. There is a slight revenue that comes back to us from the state of New York for those classes. And during 2024, this board passed a resolution to budget some money in '24 for some classes that were held earlier this year. And this is an actual line item that we have in the budget for this. It's about $200,000. So I just wanted to address that and have that made clear that there is money in here for volunteers to take classes to help with the EMS issue in Allegheny County.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It was further suggested that there was a $600,000 contract with MTS that was soon to be approved. Is that number accurate?
That is the amount that's in the budget to cover that contract, but the contract was negotiated to be about $455,000.
Thank you, and that'll be addressed before the end of the year?
December 20th, yes.
Thank you.
I think we also need to remember that the amendment to the tentative you just did also added money to emergency services and the sheriff's office through the State Homeland Security Program grant and the Emergency Management Performance Grant as well.
Thank you. Also probably worth noting, although most people probably realize it, we have added staff to that Office of Emergency Management this year because this board recognizes the importance of that department and the services they provide to the county. So that, in my estimation, that is a countywide service that we are providing not just to the volunteers, but to the citizens and taxpayers as well. Further discussion? Legislator Burdick.
Yes, thank you. I would just like to thank all the people involved in putting this budget together, Terry, Carissa, Allison, and anyone else that was involved. It's a long process. We started back in August, maybe even before that. And it's a call, it consists of meeting with department heads, going over their budget requests, preparing a preliminary budget. Then we have an opportunity to meet with go through each department and look at their budgets, ask any questions that we want to ask. Then we look at it again. So a lot of eyes look at this budget, and a lot of people have input on it. And I think it's a good budget, and I just wanted to recognize those that were really involved in putting this together and thank them. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Legislator Healy.
I also would like to add that earlier in the year, we also distributed ARPA funds to all the municipalities, and they could have done whatever they chose. There was no stipulation with those. They could have spent them or invested them with their volunteers, agencies. They could do whatever they wanted to, and that's in addition to all the other services we provide the towns and villages. Thank you.
Thank you. There's really an almost unanimous optimism on this board about the future of EMS and fire in this county. A lot of good work is being done. We've made a lot of progress. Lots more to do, but I'm very optimistic. The people of Allegheny County are good people, and they have that spirit of volunteerism that I think we actually have in spades more than other counties. So I'm excited for the future. Like I said, a lot of work to do, but looking forward to doing that work. Further discussion? Mr. Sear.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I just have two small things I want to hit on, and I think I can get through it pretty quick and simply. I'm going to be a no vote. I guess the first simple reason would be, without getting too far into the weeds, the state allows a 2% cap, and anything further than that, you need special permission. We're hitting 6% today on this budget. The other thing is, thank you, Mrs. Ross, for the informative information. And did you say it was just under $500,000 for a failing private business we're going to fund? Was that about right?
I did not use the words failing. I said that the contract was $455,000.
You're correct. You did not. I used those words. So thank you very much.
Okay, I'll just maybe add clarification, and then the county treasurer can correct me if I'm wrong. The 2% tax cap applies to the levy, correct? 6%, which I'm assuming you're referring to, may but not be entirely accurate. It refers to
6.001.
total appropriations. You don't have the floor right now. Total appropriations, is that correct, Treasurer Ross?
Let me pull out my information on that exact percentage.
In short, the idea that this budget is 3 times the allowable tax cap is absolutely and totally incorrect. This budget falls below our statutory tax cap. Further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Just to put an exact science.
Yes,
to
Mr.
this
Sear.
Conversation. Just to put an exact science to this conversation. So the total increase is $8,783,359. So that would be an increase of 6.03%. That would be the exact numbers if it'll save you time from looking it up. Thank you.
Okay. That's total appropriations, not related to the tax cap. The tax cap's 2%, although it's not 2%. I believe it's 2.7% this year because of the tax cap calculation. Thank you, Treasurer Ross. When we all came on this board, we received a nice big 3-ring binder called Budget 101. And it taught us about the budget and how to understand the budget. And I think this part of the budget is maybe on page 1 of that binder. We are not going over the tax cap. We are under the tax cap. If you need further clarification, Mr. Sear, I'm sure Treasurer Ross can help you after the meeting. Further discussion?
I need further clarification, Mr. Chairman.
If you're going to reiterate what you've said twice, I'm not going to provide you with privilege of the floor again. Do you have a question for Treasurer Ross?
Yes. Did we go almost 9 million higher in the budget this year compared to last year?
For the entire budget, the budget did go up $8-some million. There was also revenue to counteract that. Our levy only went up $800,000, which was 2.72%. The cap is a 2% cap on the levy. There are exemptions to that cap that you have to fill out to a form to the state of New York, which allows you to exempt certain things such as paying for our equipment going forward and et cetera. We are $17,000 under the 2% cap for 2025.
May I ask a few more questions on that?
Go ahead.
Okay, so we're almost 9 million higher than the budget last year and 28 million since '22, is that correct?
I don't have those figures of what we were in '22 with me today. I can certainly get
I'm
those.
just trying to figure out the trick math, how it can go up and.
Legislator Burdick.
Mr. Chairman, we have had many opportunities to discuss the budget, and I think that we're beyond these questions. These should have been asked during the public hearing last night or we've had many opportunities to address these questions. The figures haven't changed. So I would like to move on and call for a vote.
You're calling the question. Do we need a second on that, or no? Okay, the question has been called. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Seer,
No.
Mr. Demick,
Yes.
Mr. Fanton,
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Havey,
Yes.
Mr. Healy,
Yes.
Mr. Ricky,
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales,
Yes.
Mrs. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Stockin, Mrs. Burdick,
Yes.
Mr. Curran.
Yes.
12 ayes, 1 no, 2 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 47624, resolution levying county taxes. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Mr. Stockin makes the motion, seconded by Legislator Fanton. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Seer? Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yeah. Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin? Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
And that resolution is approved.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Seer?
thank you. I'm a no vote on that, actually. I was confused for a second, looking at the wrong resolution. If you would change that for the record, thank you.
Okay. Resolution intro number 47724. Resolution making appropriations for the conduct of the county government for fiscal year 2025. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Mr. Stockin makes the motion, seconded by Mr. Fanton. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Seer? Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
And that resolution is approved.
Resolution intro number 47824, approval of grant application to the New York State Association of County Health Officials for climate change and health adaptation projects for the Department of Health. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Legislator Burdick makes the motion, seconded by Legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Seer? Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin? Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
And that's approved.
Resolution intro number 47924. Approval of grant application to the Allegheny County Area Foundation for the Office of Employment and Training. This resolution is being offered by the Planning and Economic Development and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Legislator Root makes the motion, seconded by Legislator Hanchett. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Seer? Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton? Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin? Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
That resolution is approved.
Resolution intro number 48024. Approval of budget modifications within the Office for the Aging to cover transportation and caterer costs. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Human Services and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Motion by Legislator Burdick, seconded by Legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Seer? Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin? Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
That resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 48124. Acceptance and appropriation of additional Title 3B Supportive Services Grant Funds for the Office for the Aging. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Legislator Burdick makes the motion, seconded by Legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Seer? Yes. Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin? Yes. Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
That's approved.
Resolution intro number 48224. Acceptance and appropriation of additional Office of Mental Health grant funds for the Office of Community Services. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Legislator Burdick makes the motion, seconded by Legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Seer? Yes. Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin? Yes. Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
That resolution is approved.
Resolution intro number 48324. Approval of budget modification and transfer for the veteran Joseph P. Dwyer Peer-to-Peer Support Program. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Motion by Legislator Stockin, seconded by Legislator Fanton. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Seer? Yes. Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin? Yes. Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
That resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 48424. Budget modification transferring funds from the American Rescue Plan Act and general funds to support over-budgeted projects. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Motion by Legislator Stockin, seconded by Legislator Fanton. Discussion? Ding dong, the witch is dead. This is it. We're done with ARPA. Just in the nick of time. If there's no discussion, roll call, please.
Mr. Seer? Yes. Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
That resolution is approved.
Resolution intro number 48524. Oops. Acceptance of FEMA fiscal year 2024 State Homeland Security Grant Program funds for the Office of the Sheriff and Office of Emergency Services. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Mr. Stockin makes the motion, seconded by legislator Fanton. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Seer? Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
That resolution is approved.
Resolution intro number 48624. Acceptance of FEMA fiscal year 2024 Emergency Management Performance Grant Funds for the Office of Emergency Services, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said grant agreement. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Mr. Stockin makes the motion, seconded by legislator Fanton. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Seer? Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
That resolution is approved. Seeking a motion to block resolution intro numbers 487 of 24 to 488 of 24. Thank you, Mr. Fanton. Second by legislator Ricky. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? That's carried.
Resolution intro number 48724, approval of early intervention program service evaluator and service provider agreement between the County of Allegheny and Aaron Baldwin for the Department of Health, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. Resolution intro number 48824, approval of agreement between the County of Allegheny and Outdate RX LLC for the Department of Health, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. These resolutions are being offered by the Human Services Committee and have committee approval.
Motion by legislator Burdick, seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Seer? Yes. Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Those resolutions are approved. Seeking a motion to block resolutions with intro numbers 489 of 24 through 491 of 24. Thank you, Mr. Ricky, seconded by legislator Root. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? That's carried.
Resolution intro number 48924, approval of renewal of agreement between the County of Allegheny and NMS Labs for forensic laboratory services, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. Resolution intro number 49024, approval of renewal of intermunicipal agreement between the County of Allegheny and Monroe County for medical legal death investigation services and forensic pathology services through the Monroe County Medical Examiner's Office, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. Resolution intro number 49124, approval of renewal of agreement between the County of Allegheny and Olean General Hospital for autopsy, medical laboratory, and pathology services, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. These resolutions are being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and Human Services Committee, and have committee approval.
Thank you, Legislator Burdick, seconded by Legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Seer? Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin? Mrs. Burdick? Mr. Curran?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Those resolutions are approved.
Resolution intro number 49224. Approval of agreement between the County of Allegheny and Blaze Stack Incorporated for fire investigation case management software for the Office of Emergency Services, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. This resolution is being offered by the Public Safety Committee and has committee approval.
Motion made by Legislator Havy, seconded by Legislator Demick. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Seer? Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin? Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Resolutions approved.
Resolution intro number 49324. Approval of extension of agreement between the County of Allegheny and Snow Hill Incorporated for lawn care and snow and ice removal for the Allegheny County Park and Ride located at the Crossroads Conference Center, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Motion by Legislator Stockin, seconded by Legislator Fanton. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Seer? Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
12 ayes, 1 abstaining, 2 absent.
Resolutions approved.
Resolution intro number 49424. Approval of agreement between the County of Allegheny and Motorola Solutions Incorporated for interoperable communications project for the Office for the Sheriff, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. This resolution is being offered by the Public Safety Committee and has committee approval.
Mr. Havy makes the motion, seconded by Legislator Demick. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Seer? Yes. Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin? Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Resolutions approved.
Resolution intro number 49524. Oops. Resolution opposing Senate Bill S. 967A, Ryan, Assembly Bill A. 1489A, Thiel, legislation that would lower the penalty interest rate in tax delinquency situations and shift higher costs to other taxpayers. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval. It was not pre-filed and it will require a 2/3 vote to consider from the floor.
On the 2/3, the motion's made by Legislator Hanchett, seconded by Legislator Ricky. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? That's carried. And on the resolution, the motion is made by Legislator Stockin, seconded by Legislator Fanton. Discussion? If this resolution can be voice voted, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? And that's approved. How do you prefer the reading of the audit today?
Collectively and by totals, please.
So moved by Legislator Stockin, seconded by Legislator Fanton. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? That's carried.
General government support, $156,138.10. Education, $149,264.44. Public safety, $50,634.29. Health, $225,941.53. Bus transportation, $11,555.90. Economic assistance and opportunity, $865,633.37. Culture and recreation, $15,863.37. Home and community services, $42,012.95. Our general fund totaled $1,517,073.95. Payroll and taxes total $1,349,435.46. Our capital funds total $229,794.04. Our other funds total $425,727.35, for a grand total of $3,522,030.80.
Is there a motion to approve the audit? Motion by legislator Ricky, seconded by legislator Hanchett. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Seer? Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin? Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
That is approved. Is there anything for the good of the order today? I'd like to take the opportunity just to thank Deputy Administrator Mallory Short, Personnel Director Bobby Budinger, Dr. Robert Anderson, Veteran Services Director Mike Hennessy have been doing a great job getting this Dwyer program, peer-to-peer veterans program, up and running. It sounds like they're going to have great attendance for the holiday Christmas, holiday festival at Genesee Valley on Saturday. I'll direct the public. They're also trying to get people grouped up together to do a game at St. Bonaventure coming up in late December. That's for veterans and a +1. Sounds like also a great event. Includes tickets to the game, kind of like a little group lunch. Any of these programs that they're setting up can be found on Facebook. If you do a search for Salute to Allegheny County Veterans, you'll find the programs that they have available. It's going to be continuing into 2025 and beyond, and they're doing a great job. Anything else for the good of the order? If not, would anyone care to make a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Legislator Ricketts Swales, seconded by Legislator Hanchett. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? And we're adjourned.